Oh, gone. Okay, well, we'll get into it in a minute.
This next question has to do with health care. For the first time in our nation's history, the federal government is trying to force the citizens of our country, that's you and me, to purchase health care that most of us don't want. If you don't purchase the governmental mandated health care, you'll be fined the price of a policy each month. This is a clear and flagrant violation of the Constitution. If the federal government is allowed to set this precedent, they can force us to buy anything. Here's the question. Would you work to pass legislation and join with 20 other states in a lawsuit against the federal government to stop this clear violation of their constitutional authority and return to us the freedom to choose the health insurance we want? Mr. Meredith.
Hello? Okay. I wasn't keyed. I think we were on, but yes, sir. The answer to that question is yes. I'd said in my opening statement that I do not believe in any mandates passed down by the federal government or the state government that are unfunded, but especially with the health care. I've talked to many business owners out there, as I also have been going door to door and talking to small businesses, and they are very concerned about even trying to grow their company in this economy because of the federal government mandate that's coming down for health care. I've talked to some business owners, if they have 40, 45 employees, they're concerned about hiring 4 or 5 more people because they might have to have a federal mandate to get health care for all their employees. So the simple answer to that question is yes, I will fight for that. We have a 100-day plan in the Republican side of the House and the Senate that the Health Care Protection Act that we are willing to sign and get to the floor as soon as we are elected. So the answer to that, short answer to that is yes. Thank you.
My short answer is no, I wouldn't do that for 2 reasons. One, I'm getting my master's at University of North Carolina in health policy, and we studied this bill. And many of the things that people talk about, they're not in the bill. So I would ask anyone to point out where there are these specific mandates, and particularly for small businesses like mine. Now, in North Carolina, we had 1.8 million people who did not have health care, where the overwhelming majority of them were people who actually worked. We had the highest increase of unemployment of any southern state in the nation, and we also had the highest amount of people who did not have health care in the last 2 years in the nation. And so when you talk about what it did, now there are some things that I don't like about the bill, but the one thing I do like is that for the first time, people who, like in my family, who were carpenters, who worked out in the fields, who worked at truck drivers, they actually got insurance for the first time in their life. Good, honest Americans who worked hard, did what they were supposed to, paid their taxes, did all the stuff that America said they were supposed to do, but either because their employer wouldn't give it to them or they could not afford it, they got health care. When I know that there are some people who game the system and for $3 get health care and don't work ever a day in their life. So I think the people who work should get health care, and the people who don't work, they shouldn't be allowed to get health care for free.
All right. My firm belief is that there are certain things that government is designed to do, and there are certain things that it is not designed to do. And while intentions are good things, they don't always bring good results. And the intention behind the decisions to have government direct health care, I believe people have good intentions, but I believe we get bad results. And so as a consequence of that, I do not believe it is the role of the federal government to be involved in an individual's health decision. And for that reason, I would oppose the health care bill and would sign this, the 100 days provision that we have talked about with the health care protection for our people, the freedom to choose where you want to have your health care. I believe that's an individual decision between a patient and a doctor. And I understand, again, the reason that some people think that it would be a good deal. But there are plenty of good things or good ideas that government hears about and does, but it's not the role of government to do. And if we continue to do things that are not government's proper role, we will continue to get in trouble.
I'm not sure how I'm going to spend the minute because I answered this in the first question, but I'll try. Yeah, I would definitely fight it, and I said that in the answer to the first question. I'll repeat that right now. I look at forcing you as citizens to purchase something that you don't want, that you don't have choice in. I think it's unconstitutional. I mean, that's the short answer. And the whole health care debate in this 2,000-page document that they passed, they even admitted they didn't read it before they passed it. What kind of way is that to craft law? How do you make public policy when you vote on something when you haven't even read it? That's just ridiculous. It's stupid. I'm sorry. First time I've ever run for office, if I say something not politically correct, give me a pass. But it doesn't make sense. I will fight it and any other unfunded mandate that comes down from the federal government.
I, too, will support what the Republican Party has in plans, and that is to have the Health Care Protection Act, one of the first things that we do. One thing that's important to me is I did also look at the health care bill, and I can tell you that reading or trying to read the 2,000-plus pages is very difficult to try to understand. But one thing I did get out of all of the things that I've researched is it's an enabling bill. And that means it's going to enable more people to not get health insurance because they know they can get something for nothing. I pay my insurance. I am a state employee, and I was told that in January, chances are my insurance rates are going up. It bothers me because it's already gone up within the past year just in planning for what's going to happen with this Obamacare bill. So I firmly stand that we've got to protect our rights, and one of those naturally is the protection of our health care.
Well, I already know I got to talk fast because I guess I got long-winded. The short answer is yes, we're going to fight this Obamacare. I've been in the health insurance business 10.5 years, and I can tell you the Obamacare law is going to put more people out of business, and it's going to create a situation where you're incented not to have health insurance. That is exactly the wrong thing we need to be doing, but that is exactly what the liberals in Raleigh and in Washington want to happen because they want government to be the single-payer system. And that is absolutely the wrong approach we should take. We should do everything we can to support the private financing of our health care system. We have the finest health care system in the world. There is nobody that touches us. My wife and I are on the Duke Cancer Board. I can tell you, every time we went up when Jill was getting chemotherapy and then when Jill later had to get radiation, we saw folks from all over the world at Duke. So I can tell you, we have the finest system, and Obamacare is going to ruin it.
All right, yes, direct. Thank you. This next question has to do with judicial tyranny, and Mr. Dawkins, we'll begin with you and work our way on down that way. Our founders placed the power of government into three separate departments: the legislative, which is the House and Senate, the executive, which is the president, and the judiciary, which are the judges. And while severally independent, they were at the same time mutually dependent. President Washington felt that the separation of powers with its accompanying checks and balances was the genius of the American system of government. In the fullness of time, the judiciary has used its power to legislate, to make laws, rather than to interpret the law as was its original intent. Progressive activist judges are rendering decisions just like a third world dictator. Many have a lifetime appointment, but in the wisdom of our founders, provisions in the Constitution provided for their removal. Judges may be impeached, not just for committing a crime, but for violating the Constitution that they swore an oath to uphold. In order to stop progressive judges and reestablish our judicial system within constitutional boundaries, would you vote to impeach violators? Mr. Dawkins.
Yes, sir. And one way we change our system in North Carolina is I'm going to work with John and with Jackie to introduce a bill in the House to return the judge races to become partisan races. What was happening is Republicans were winning judge seats right and left So what the Democrats in Raleigh did is they said, well, we're going to make them all nonpartisan. So then you have no idea who all these judges are. So what we're trying to do is get a list out so you'll know who the Republicans are that are running, that are conservative, that are Constitution-believing judges, not these folks that see the Constitution as a living, changing, breathing document. No. We have a Constitution. We need to follow it. We do not need to create law from the bench. The legislature has been tasked with creating the laws and passing the laws. And I can tell you, I'm excited because folks need to know that John Tyson and Rob Hasty are Republicans running for judge.
And I'll have to ditto his remarks. You're going to find that many of the opinions of the three J's are very similar in our approach. And the reason that we have these similarities is that through the conversations that we've had, we know that we need to be a team effort. And I think that's first and foremost, that you've got to have people that represent the ideals and the morals and the values. I, too, believe that we do not need any more laws, and especially don't need those coming from the judge's seat. But again, it's happening because of the way things how they're elected or appointed. So I, too, will make sure that I stand firm in making sure that we do not want unlimited government, nor do we want someone in every aspect telling us what we have to do.
Ditto. I mean, what more can I add? We have had these discussions, and it hasn't been discussions trying to figure out where we can meet in the middle and agree on things. It's been discussions talking about the principles of government, the principles of conservatism that we stand for. We have three branches of government, equal and independent. They need to stay that way. Judges are not supposed to make law. They're supposed to interpret law and rule on law. It really is that simple. And I guess I'm just a simple guy because sometimes things, people like to make them all hazy and black and white with a bunch of smoke, but there are certain things which are black and white. This is one of those things.
I believe that any officer of the government who swears to uphold the Constitution should live up to that oath. And when you violate that oath, you should be removed from office. And this is a quote from Van Horn's Lessee versus Dorrance, 1795. What is a constitution? It is the form of government delineated by the mighty hand of the people in which certain first principles of fundamental laws are established. The Constitution is certain and fixed. It contains the permanent will of the people and is the supreme law of the land. And they go on to state, the Constitution of a state is stable and permanent, not to be worked upon by the temper of the times, nor to rise and fall with the tide of events, notwithstanding the competition of opposing interests and the violence of contending parties. It remains firm and immovable as a mountain amidst the strife of storms, or a rock in the ocean amidst the raging of the waves.